Good evening again, everybody, and welcome to the August edition of our financial literacy webinar. Now, this financial literacy webinar is a webinar we do every month in order to educate everyone who cares to learn about financial literacy. Now, as a company, we know that we are working on tools that we can help reach out to the financially excluded individuals. But we've got to understand one thing, that it's one thing to provide the tool, and it's another thing to have the knowledge on how to use the tool. And that was what bettered the financial literacy webinar, a webinar that is organized to educate people on savings, investments, taking loans, financial management, financial planning, and everything that has to do with financial knowledge, right? For the past few months, we've touched different areas as regards to financial literacy. And then for this month, we are focusing on small businesses. That brings us to our topic for today, which is scaling small businesses through financial planning. Now, we have a very beautiful speaker who is present with us in person of Ms. Adaku. She will be sharing her wealth of experience on financial plan, on how small businesses can scale through financial planning. So without further ado, not to waste any more time, I'll be calling Ms. Adaku to the podium to please turn on her mic and commence her session. Ms. Adaku, the floor is yours.
Hi, good evening, everybody. It's an honor to be taking this session, this August webinar, and we are talking about the topic scaling small businesses through financial planning. Okay. So when we talk about small businesses, what's the first thing that we want to talk about? There are so many things, right? And it feels like owning a small business has become a mantra for, what do I call this now? It looks like owning a small business, right? Feels like there's really no respect for people who own small businesses and stuff like that. But today we want to talk about how can you scale your small business through financial planning. As an opening context, small businesses, they are the backbone of the economy, and they contribute significantly to job creation and innovation. When we talk about contributing significantly to job creation and innovation, I think the SME Bureau talks about the fact that we have 90% of our GDP, or we owe 90% of our GDP to small businesses, and they employ about 80% of the population. 80% is a huge number, but when you consider the fact that they are employing so much people, yet the statistics that say that they fail in their first 5 years makes it worrisome. Why are they not scaling beyond the first 5 years? Why are they not growing to become MSMEs? Majority of them have the regular challenge of access to funding. But when we talk about access to funding, we'll now start talking about looking for funding, but that's not where it starts from, right? So common mistakes that small businesses make. Everybody will say, if they say 75 to 90% of small businesses, they fail in their first 5 years, and the first thing that people want to talk about is, there's no money to fund the business. But these are some of the mistakes that these small business owners make that is causing those businesses to not span beyond small businesses, so that they become middle and large-scale businesses. So one of the mistakes that they make is that many of them, they have this misconception that revenue is equals to profit. But that is not true. Your revenue is not your profit. right? People think that, oh, because I make 500,000 every month, therefore I can do so many things. But you have not even factored in the cost of making that 500,000. Are you even making enough to even say you are making a profit? Another is poor record keeping, or the complete absence of it. So many people run their small businesses on vibes. Okay, so there is this tendency to want to rely on native intelligence. I sold 10 packs today, but I only paid NEPA today, so therefore I should be making a profit. But that is not exactly how it works. If somebody should come back to you in 5 weeks, 5 months is too far, in 5 weeks, and ask you how much you made, let's say on the 8th of July, I am almost very certain that you cannot tell how much you made because there is no financial record to that effect. Another thing that is becoming very worrisome is the fact that people who run small businesses, because of the ease of accessing loans with the rise of loan sharks, they take on loans without clear repayment plans. So what happens is you don't understand the burden of that loan you have taken, because very few people even understand the role that interest plays in the loans that you have taken. So let's say, for instance, you have 2 offers before you, and one person tells you to come and take you are asking for 500k, right? And then one party says, I will give you 500k, but that 500k is going to come at, if another party B says to you that come and take 500k, but this 500k I'm giving to you is at 1% interest per annum. To make things worse, they will not now use simple interest. They will now go and use compounding interest. You see that some people would choose that 1% interest per month, right? And in their minds, 1% is smaller than 5%. But by the time you do the compounding, and at the end of 12 months, if you are unable to pay that loan after the 5th month, you then have at the minimum you'll be paying on that 500k is 12%. But the person who takes that 500k at 1% every month will think that he has gotten a good bargain. These are some of the things that are affecting and making small businesses to close faster than they should. Another thing that I don't think is on this slide is people who run small businesses have this tendency to mistake their business finance, their business fund, for their personal funding. So what happens is that these people will then, I want to make my head. You dip your hand into your business purse and you pay for it. Your child is crying for biscuit. You dip your hand into your business fund and you pay for it. Your child has to buy a new shoe. You dip your hand in. And the thing is, you don't understand clear boundaries, that you are not your business and your business is not you. Then let's move on to the core elements of financial planning. We have talked about the mistakes that we as small business owners make, that is making our businesses not to stand the test of time. Let's talk about what are the core elements. What are the things that you need to figure out? What are the things that you need to do to ensure that your business stands the test of time? These are the things that you will put in place that will help you. These are the things that you have to learn about that will help you prepare your business to be resilient. So the first thing we talk about here is bookkeeping and records, right? So the bookkeeping and record has about 2 or 3 legs. There's 1, your income, right? 2, your expenses. 3, your debts. Then the last one is usually gotten from the calculation of your income expenses, right? When you do your income and expense analysis, you then know how much profit you are making. Number 2 is cash flow management. The reason why somebody will begin to expand their shop in January when they know for a fact that the time that they even have more money to make plans and save for starts from March, is because they don't understand their cash flow. Understanding your cash flow and proper cash flow management is simply understanding your cash inflow and your cash outflow. Cash inflow is all the money that comes into your business, and cash outflow is all the money that goes out of your business. You need to understand when do you have the most money coming in and when you have the most money going out. This cash flow management is tied to your bookkeeping and records taking. If you don't have if you don't have a proper culture of bookkeeping and recording for your business, you will never understand the cash flow for your business. Another element you need to be able to plan properly for your business is budgeting and cost control. You need to identify what your fixed and variable costs are. Your fixed costs are costs that even if the heavens should fall, those things are things that you must make payments for. Without yielding ground, without being able to negotiate, without being able to rethink those things. One of those things are your rent. So many businesses don't plan for their rent. They let their rents catch them unawares, which is not supposed to be so. You should make proper plans for your rent. When you make your budget, your rent is one of those things that you consider. Another fixed income is the payment of salaries, the amount that you pay. Even if you don't have full-time staffs, you have people that work for you on contract basis. You have suppliers that you have freelancers that you contract. When you need to reach out to these people, before you begin to make plans to reach out to them, you should have a budget on how much you want to spend for any of those areas. Okay, another element of financial planning is savings and reserve. That's also another thing that most small business owners don't do. You say, oh, there is no enough money, I cannot be able to meet up with all my expenses. So therefore, you will open your mouth and you will spend all the money without making a reserve. And that's why some of these businesses are unable to be resilient, because they don't have anything to fall back on. Okay, when you run a small business, no matter how meager the amount that comes into the business, you should be able to keep aside, even if it is 1,000 naira, consistently saving it for the unforeseen, because nobody knows what tomorrow holds. One policy, one information is all it takes to cause your business to go into hiccup, and at that time it will be too late to be looking for who will borrow you money, because you become desperate and you fall into the hands of loan sharks and people who are just waiting to eat your business alive. Lastly, we talk about access to capital, tax and compliance planning. You need to also plan for all of these areas, because these are things that you cannot do without. Whether you like it or not, Nigeria is coming to a point where you will need to pay tax one way or the other. You cannot evade it. There are new policies every day. There's one that is starting in January. So even if you cannot get the service of a tax lawyer, tax consultant, there should be one or two people in your circle that understands about tax and that can guide you about it. Make plans for it, even if you are not under the tax bracket right now. We talk about financial planning as a scaling tool. Now, one of the things that financial planning does for you is that it makes expansion easier for you. When you want to you want to open up a new branch, you want to hire more people, the first thing you want to do is to look at your financial plans. What's your forecast for the year, your forecast for the quarter? What's your hiring budget? If I increase this hiring budget, will this business still be able to continue? You talk about how are you going to reinvest your profits. Okay, so another thing is that you then have to maintain financial discipline. Okay, the first thing you want to do is not to hire more people because your business is already making so much money. There are so many things you need to consider before you do that your next hire, or before you go about increasing your pay. I've seen people who raise to increase the pay, only for them to realize down the line that the amount that they added to the pay of their I am not against paying people well for their services, but you should understand if your business will still be able to stand after you have improved the space grade or the payment structure for the people in your business. If anybody has questions, you can please drop them in the comment. I know that I don't know, am I too fast? Can somebody please confirm that you can still hear me and I am not just blabbing away?
Yes, we can still hear you.
Are we hearing me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now we want to talk about the practical steps for small business owners to better plan your business finance. I've talked about, these are the things that will happen if you don't have a proper structure in place to scale your business. I've talked about the things that you need to do to help your business remain resilient, to be able to open up new branches, right? I'm talking now, we want to talk about the very practical steps. These are things that you can do. You probably must have heard them before, but you haven't put it to mind. Today, if you have a book and a pen, you can write this down and ensure you put deadlines beside it so that you can begin to work on it, even if you are not at the stage where you can work on those things. The first thing is to open a dedicated business bank account. It is a business bank account. It is not your own. People run businesses without proper without proper registration for those businesses, and they just dance on vibes and inshallah. I think recently there was this is not a legal class, but there's a legal gist that was trending in Nigeria. Fastest cakes in Lagos, I think, or somewhere like that. I don't know. One brand that does cake in Lagos, they now expanded to Ibadan, only for another business that has been operating before this one started but did not do their CAC filing early enough. The other guys that came from Lagos had registered, and then they served these people that have been in the business a long time ago that they have to change their name because this one is already trademarked. So people just be running business on vibes and inshallah, only for them to get to the future and find out that those things are things that are going to hinder them, because you change your name, you change your brand, you then begin to start your whole branding afresh. So first things first is you should have a proper registration. Even if it's just a business name, have a proper registration for your business. Then when you are done with that, you then open a business bank account. Thankfully for all the new entrants in the market, everybody is trying to serve SMEs. You can open a business bank account with all this OPay and Money Point. It makes it very easy for you. You give them your CAC, they'll do all the legwork for you and give you an account that produces the name of your business. So you keep that separate. Your business and your personal finance should go to two different banks. The next thing is that you want to pay yourself a salary. Don't collect money from your business to solve your personal problems. Let your business solve its problems and solve your own personal problems by yourself. The next thing is to keep financial records daily. Keep financial records daily. Don't keep it weekly. Keep it daily. The reason why I advocate for keeping it daily is because when you keep it daily, it makes it easier for you to reconcile your weekly records. It is these same weekly records that you would then use to work on your monthly records and then work on your yearly records. But if you don't keep a daily record, you begin to make mistakes, and that's where you even begin to fall from. Okay, then lastly, I want to say adopt simple digital tools or apps like the Suba Capital app. I wanted to save this for later, but having an app like the Suba Capital app helps you to properly prepare for the future. Remember when I talked about saving as a business person, right? This is where the Suba Capital app is one of those digital tools that you need, or you have an Excel sheet, right? Excel is very easy to use. If you cannot use Excel, get a hardback notebook, write your daily sales, your all the sales, everything that comes on a daily basis, write it in one. All the things that you spend, write it in a second in another book, and do your reconciliation on a daily basis. Then keep a digital tool, something like Super Capital app, that helps you to save your money. Saving for the future is very, very important. Most people don't have that. Don't have that plan in place for their business. I want to quickly I have an example here. We had a customer at a time, right, who had a business, a hair salon, right? At the time she started, she had just one dryer. But the problem is that one dryer, because she's in the marketplace, people will come and then they'll be taking slots. But it became chaotic and she was losing customers because people no longer wanted to come to her shop. If they had to take time, they take numbers and take queues, and some of the time their queue number is usually disregarded. She was already losing customers. Good thing she's a Super Capital member. What happened is she then decided to, find out how much a dryer costs, and was open to putting the money every month. And at the time it became complete, she was able to withdraw the money that she needed, and she even had extra in interest from Super Capital to make that purchase. Now, there are some things that are very, very, very key here. She had one dryer. She was running a business. She waited until she was having so much customers that they were going away because one dryer was no longer serving her before she proceeded to buy a second dryer. You don't go and buy a second dryer when you don't have customers to use that dryer. You don't tie your money up like that. You plan for it. It is something that you have to make plans for. Okay, so, and then she first found out the cost, got a partner like Super Capital that was helping her with the savings. We put our money in all this bank, and 2 minutes, 2 seconds, everywhere don't boss. When small something happen, you go there, you collect the money. There's no financial discipline. But with Super Capital app, you are able to save the money. There's discipline because the money is tied. As long as you say this is when I want the money, it is tied. Except on extreme cases where you then have to reach out and then the fund is broken. But the app encourages financial discipline. So these are some of the things that we should take into consideration. You are building a business in this time and age where anything can happen at any time. Your gen can become faulty, NEPA can cut your light. You need to have a reserve. You should have a reserve that helps you to solve some of these problems. And then you don't want to keep your business funding and your funding together. You will mix everything up. People will not take you seriously. You then also need to make plans. Know what is coming into your business. In January, somebody taps you. How much did you make in January? How much did you spend? You should know that figure by heart. If you don't know it by heart, there should be a place where you can go to make research, make your inquiries, and find out how much you made. When people ask you questions like that, even when you then need to get any of these small grants that they give to SMEs, it's easy for you to provide your book and record for them to give you funding. Okay, and then my closing thought: scaling is possible, but only when backed by intentional financial planning. Small, consistent habits like saving, budgeting, and record keeping determine long-term success. Remember, growth without financial planning is gambling, not scaling. Thank you very much. Now we will take your questions. Cheers.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Darko. Like, my pad is full. So please, I want to believe that we have all learned a lot. Thank you so much for this very insightful session, and we believe that, in fact, your whole thought process, starting from the common mistakes, moving down to the core elements, and then talking about practical steps with an addition of a case study. This is actually a very full-on lecture in a very short time, and we really appreciate you for this. So at this point, we have just a few more minutes left, and then we want to take questions. So Adak, I want to ask, right, what you spoke about savings, you talked about investment. Let me look at my notes where you talked about them as tools, that as core elements for tools in financial planning. So I want to know, which one should we focus on? Like, which financial option is best for scaling? Should people go the route of saving before they scale, or should they take out loan to scale, or should they like you spoke on reinvesting? Should they reinvest to scale? Which of these options is like the best for small scale businesses or small business owners? Please confirm you got my question.
Yes, I got your question. So the first thing you want to do, right, is to get proper records for your business. Without proper recording, you will not be able to serve, you cannot make any proper decision for your business. After having proper records for your business, is your cash flow and your cash flows analysis that then tells you when is appropriate for you to expand your business, whether or not you can expand the business. Is what your cash flow tells you. Do you have enough demand for you to even begin to think about expanding? Then if your cash flow then tells you that you can do that, that's the next thing you then want to do. How am I going to afford it? Do I want to save towards it, or do I want to get a loan? Or do I want to start applying for a grant? So it is a process. All of them are important, but there's a process to it.
Okay, thank you. I think I really get this one. Like what I just jotted down now is, first of all, you have to properly look at your record book, because as a data analyst, they say data is, how do I feel it now? Data is what we use to make informed decisions. So for a small business, gathering data, which is your financial record, is what is going to aid you in making decisions. And if we don't have this proper data, if we don't have this proper bookkeeping, then there's no way to aid decision. Then next is to ask yourself the question: do you have enough demand? Do you have enough demand to expand? That is a very vital question that a lot of SMEs needs to answer, because you see people scaling up their businesses. You see your neighbor in Onitsha is now having like 2 or 3 stores, and you want to go and open 2 or 3 stores. You have to look within your own industry and see, do you have enough demand to scale? And that is a vital question a lot of persons need to answer. Then before that, you can now expand using any of these methods.